Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Thursday, just after Mikel Arteta has had his press conference looking ahead to the Southampton game on Saturdays. First of all, a little bit of an apology. I know this video is coming a couple of hours after that, but joys of homeschooling and trying to cover the press conference, not being an easy morning in the Watts household. So this is coming a little bit late than I usually like to post these videos on a press conference day, but I still thought I'd pop on and talk about what I thought was a pretty interesting press conference from Mikel Arteta. Lots covered on it, lots about transfers, about Balogun, about team news, plenty of stuff that I thought was interesting that I thought I'd want to cover a little bit. And Mesut Ozil as well, obviously that's still rumbling on, not yet had the confirmation, although it is expected very, very soon. I think I said in the last video that word from Turkey is they expect that to be officially announced on Saturday, so only a couple of days left to go on that. Mikel was speaking about Mesut a little bit, and the Arsenal mole as well. Remember that, the Arsenal mole, where it came out a while ago that Mikel said he was on desperately hunting to see who was leaking the information. He spoke a little bit about that as well. So let's start with transfers, because we are in the middle of the transfer window. In case you didn't know, I'm sure you did. And as has always been the case with Arsenal in the transfer window, the focus has always been on getting players out the door. Now they have done that very, very well. Yesterday, after yesterday's video, I spoke a little bit about Sokratis, saying nothing had been done yet. Well, Arsenal came to that agreement soon after. Sokratis has now left the club. Arsenal and him have come to a mutual agreement to cancel his contract. So that makes it Ozil, Sokratis, Kolasinac and William Saliba have all gone out so far this window. Arsenal absolutely delighted with that. Yes, they've taken a big financial hit. I think that Bank of England loan they took out not too long ago has certainly helped them come to this agreement with Ozil and Sokratis, paying them up early. Still been a costly process, but Arsenal just absolutely delighted to get them out of the squad and to be able to move on from the whole situation. And Mikel Arteta delighted to be able to have the squad numbers down and not have that situation of players, big players, senior players, not even being involved, because nothing good comes from that in terms of team morale, in terms of what it's like around the training ground. So he's very, very happy about that has happened. But now those players have gone. The second part of the process this transfer window can begin, and that is looking around to see if they can add to their squad. And Mikel Arteta was speaking about that, and he said, we are in that process right now. We've done the first part, selling players more or less, and now we are focusing on the second phase. Obviously this market and the context makes it really difficult, but we are looking at options and we will see what we can do. He was asked, is an attacking midfielder one of those options? And he says, we are looking at various positions because the movements that we've made in this transfer window with some players leaving the club leaves us a little bit short in certain areas. If we can do that, then we will do it. If we can't, then we'll just keep going with what we have, which is a little bit interesting. And then he was asked, you've let Sead Kolasinac go, so is cover for left back a potential area that you're looking to strengthen? Because obviously Arsenal have Kieran Tierney, but when Tierney was out, as we've seen recently, they kind of have to plug that hole with makeshift defenders. Say Ainsley Maitland-Niles, usually a centre midfielder or a right back playing over on the left, not naturally left-footed player. Bukayo Saka as well, even Cedric Suarez. And Mikel says, look, with the departure of Kolasinac, we are a little bit short with left-footed fullbacks at the moment. We know we can use Ainsley there, Bukayo, and we can use Cedric because he's played in that position. So we have some options, but a natural option to Kieran, obviously we don't, but we can adapt. And when he was asked, could you sign a left back then, he said that means that the option is open and we will look to see what is available. Now that's an interesting one. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting Arsenal to look at a left back this transfer window. I thought they'd sort of get through as well as they could until the summer in that regards, because they do have the likes of Saka and Ainsley who can fill in and do a job if Kieran isn't there. So that's an interesting one. Will they really sort of make a real move for a left back? Going to be quite tough to get a left back in who knows he's going to be firmly behind Kieran Tierney in the pecking order. So it's an interesting one. I figured this transfer window, if they were going to do anything, it was going to be a goalkeeper and an attacking midfielder. But Mikel's certainly hinting there that a left back could be something that comes in between now and the end of the window. He was asked about Martin Odegaard. Obviously, those links are intensifying. I've spoken about it a little bit in my video yesterday, saying I didn't know, I hadn't heard anything myself on it. And since then, David Ornstein, obviously the great Orny over at The Athletic, has put out a story with James McNicholas, who I'm sure you know is Gunner Blog, saying that Arsenal do have an interest in him. Sky reported it as well before that Arsenal have got an interest in him and have made an approach to Real Madrid, which is interesting. I haven't been able to firm anything up on that yet, so I can't add anything more to that, I'm afraid. But you know, if David and James are reporting it, then it's definitely going to be legit, because they're two very, very good reporters. And so it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. As I said in that video yesterday, that would be a loan that I'd really sort of get behind. I'd much prefer that to a Isco type loan of a player who's been out of form for a while, aging. I mean, I know he's 28, but still, you know, he seems like he's beyond his best. Doesn't really seem to have an out-and-out desire to play much football at the moment. But you've got Odegaard, who's young, hungry, really wants to improve, so much so that he wants to leave Madrid this month. He's asked to go out on loan to get minutes. That's much more the sort of loan that I'd like Arsenal to really target. I think he could come in and make a difference between now and the end of the season, sharing that burden with Emil Smith-Rowe, much more than Isco would, who I see being more of a Denis Suarez type signing. I have spoken to a few people that I know in Madrid, and their consensus, seemingly all of their consensus, is that Odegaard fancies Real Sociedad. Obviously, he had a spell there, very successful spell there on loan before, and that his preference is to go to Sociedad, who are interested in him. So it seems like Arsenal may be behind Sociedad when it comes to the pecking order where Odegaard might go, but hey, it seems like they are in the mix, and that is an interesting one for me. And like I said, it's a loan that I think would tick the boxes. Certainly when it comes to coming in. I basically just don't want someone to come in and really stifle Smith-Rowe. And I feel like if you sign someone like Isco, who's going to be on big wages, you know, a real senior big name, you just feel like he's someone who's going to come in and the only way he would come is if he's guaranteed to be playing, and it's like that. It just doesn't sit well with me. But if Odegaard came in, you know, similar sort of player, similar sort of age to Smith-Rowe, and the two of them can really sort of share the burden in that number 10 role, it just makes more sense to me than Isco, who, as I've said before, I just think would be a little bit of a disaster signing. Not that I think Arsenal are going to go down that route anymore, from how it seems that the interest in Isco has quietened down a little bit and they are looking elsewhere, which is why it looks like they've made that approach to bring in Odegaard. So that's one to keep an eye on, and if I do get any information on that myself, sort of firm information on that, I'll absolutely report it on here, on Goal and everything like that. But for now, I think, you know, if David and James are reporting it, as I said, I think there's certainly interest there, and it'll be interesting to see what the final decision Odegaard makes, because that'll be happening fairly soon, because we've not got too long left in the window now, 10 days I think left, so Arsenal will get their answer when it comes to him one way or another. But yeah, interesting thoughts I thought from Mikel Arteta. Certainly the fact that the focus has now switched to the incomings, so we could have an exciting final 10 days window, but also that left-back admission, one that caught me a little bit by surprise. As I said, I thought goalkeeper and attacking midfielder would probably be the most Arsenal would look to do if they can do it this window, but a left-back as well, that would be interesting. And still, what we're told is that loans are the most likely option for Arsenal at the moment, that they're not really looking to spend anything significant, because they just don't have the money really at the moment until the summer, once the new TV money comes in and everything like that, and hopefully season ticket money comes in. That's when they'll look to more spend and look to bring in permanent players. At the moment, it seems like loan still is the most likely option, which again fits into the whole Odegaard stuff. Some interesting stuff on Flo Balogun from Mikel. We haven't seen Balogun for a while, since basically since the Europa League's finished. We've not seen anything from him. And a couple of weeks ago, Mikel was asked about the contract situation, seemed to hint that the agent was slowing things down. And you know, everyone then sort of put two and two together and felt like he wasn't getting his chances now because of the contract situation. But Mikel denied that. He says, no, if anything, regarding his contractual situation with the club, I just wanted to convince him that he has a future here, not send the opposite message. Before, he wasn't training with the first team. We've changed that, and he's been training with us a lot. He's improving every single day, showing real hunger, and decided to be with us. We're trying to get something done because we want him to stay, and we have to go step by step. I think he's made some big steps in the last few months when he wasn't even training, and then he had a few games for us. So the steps are there in every way, and we want to try and keep him. which is understandable, you know, but I still think you've got to dangle something in his direction if you want to keep him when you're getting this close to the end of the contract, and not including him in any squads is a little bit surprised. I thought he'd be involved against Newcastle in the third round of the FA Cup. Obviously, Arsenal in action in the FA Cup again this weekend. When they go to Southampton again a few days later in the Premier League. You'd feel like this one in the FA Cup surely is another opportunity to at least include Balogun in the squad, maybe get him some minutes in the second half. So we'll have to wait and see if he is or not. When he was asked why he hasn't been in the squad, he said, look, because of the competition we have now and because there are other players that haven't had many minutes and they've played in the FA Cup, it takes time. We have to respect that. With Eddie, he's not been playing a lot recently as well, and he's in front of him at the moment. We have to be calm and respectful. He did then add, as far as I know, no, when he was asked if Balogun had agreed a pre-contract agreement with any foreign club, which is something that has been suggested. Not that he's signed, but that he's very, very close to signing for a foreign club, particularly over in Germany. Yeah, the mole stuff was interesting. Right at the end, James Ollie over at ESPN asked Mikel, you know, you said you were going to go on the hunt for the mole, for whoever was leaking information from the squad. He had obviously was very angered by that about a month ago by a few stories that were emerging from inside the dressing room. He was asked, you know, did you ever find out who was leaking information? And he just said, I have a sort of idea, yes. And then James followed that up with, so on that, was it related to the players? Any of the players that left this month? And Mikel, smiling, just said no comment on that. Quite interesting. I think it certainly generated a lot of talk on social media in the hours following the press conference about who it might have been. I'll leave that up to you to make your own sort of guesswork on that. But yeah, interesting that Mikel believes he has found the mole. Let's talk quickly about Mesut. And what's going on there. Mikel saying that the quarantine situation over in Turkey is what at the moment is delaying the official announcement. He's over there, everything is on track, Mikel says, but he says yes, the quarantine situation is making that final step the longest ever because they have a lot of restrictions there. There are things that have to be done before announcing everything. I think everything seems to be okay, but I cannot definitely say what is going to happen. As soon as we can, don't worry, we will mention it. Not expecting any hold-ups, any last-minute glitches. Everyone's still expecting that deal with Mesut to go through. Just a matter of time before the announcement comes from Arsenal and from Fenerbahce that A, his contract has been cancelled and he's left Arsenal, and B, that he's signed for Fenerbahce. Talked a little bit about Ozil and why he decided to let him go. He said, look, there's been a history of what's happened in the last few years, how things have developed. I think the team should evolve for the future, and his position at the club, a player of such importance, it's not playing, it's not in the squad, it is really difficult to sustain for both parties. Because the player wants to be involved and we cannot give him minutes. Obviously, that situation has to be resolved. He's a great footballer, really talented, player who's done a lot, but I want to take the team in a different direction. If we were to have more options, then maybe he would have been part of the plans. He was some plans at the start, but he wasn't at the end. So Mikel saying he wants to take the club in a different direction to Mesut Ozil, which is his choice. He's a manager. I know plenty of you don't think it was done for footballing reasons. I happen to think it was, and that Mikel just wanted to move on from the whole Mesut Ozil era. And I think now we're beginning to see in recent weeks, you know, Arsenal are doing that. They're looking fresh, they're looking energetic. They've got a new number 10 in that position who's offering an awful lot to the team in the final third in terms of assists and goal threat, in terms of pace and movement and energy. For all of Ozil's qualities, he doesn't really have that, certainly not now. And I happen to think it's a good thing that Arsenal have now moved on from Ozil. As fun as he was to watch at Arsenal, I think it's good that Arsenal are now heading in a different direction. Just a little bit on team news ahead of the game at Southampton. Mikel saying, when asked, you know, what sort of lineup, what sort of selection are you going to say? He said, as strong as it can be, we will assess all the players, who is fit to play, who is recovered. We have a few issues after the game as well. So in the next 2 days, we'll see the best possible lineup. Southampton, we're going to be playing them twice in 3 days, which is strange. And we tried to keep the FA Cup run going. So I think we're going to see rotation. But as Mikel has done with the FA Cup the whole way through it, really, there's been plenty of times when we've expected him to go fairly weakened, make fairly wholesale changes, but he hasn't. He's kept quite a strong team, and I think he will probably again It'll be a bit of a mix and match. It won't be a total Europa League side. It'll be a bit of a mix and match with that and the Premier League. In terms of who not going to play, there's going to be no Pablo Mari still. He's out with a calf injury. He won't be back training until next week. Dani Ceballos has a chance. He's been out with a calf injury as well. Obviously missed the game against Newcastle, but he's certainly further ahead than Mari is in terms of his possible return. He's going to be assessed ahead of that game at the weekend. Obviously, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang went off during the game against Newcastle towards the end, but that was just with a little bit of a stomach complaint, nothing serious, and Auba will be fine. If selected for the matchday squad, then he will be fit to feature in that. Whether he gets selected or he gets given the day off, the weekend off, remains to be seen. So that's it from today's video, really talking about the press conference. Thought it was quite an interesting one this week, lots of little decent snippets from Mikel throughout it. Certainly interesting when it comes to transfers and what might happen over the next 10 days. We'll try and keep us on top of that as we possibly can. Like I said, please do keep checking out this channel. Check out my social media. I'm on Twitter at Charles_Watts, on Facebook as well, and obviously on goal.com for all the very latest Arsenal news. Thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will speak to you soon.